Hello fractal friends, welcome to this preset setup tutorial. This tutorial will cover a lot of things for putting as much block effects as you can before hitting the CPU limit on the AX8. So here we have the AX8 edit software window with a blank preset. Nothing is set right now. I have my guitar connected and there is no sound because, first of all, you need to connect the input to the output to have sound. If you don't have that connected, nothing's gonna sound because nothing is connected. So there are many ways, but the simpler way is just to select the first block of the first row, the first column of 4. Doesn't matter where you start. I like to start just in the second row. You click, and then this end is for connecting and disconnecting blocks. Click in it, and then you see you have all this block that appears. Click the last block, and now you have a straight connection between the input and output. I'm gonna play my guitar, and it's gonna sound. I like to start by setting up a cab and an amp block just to not have the clean input of the guitar sounding. So let's hit a amp block and a cab block. We're gonna move this around later, but just put them whatever you want for now. So by default, I have the 1987 X treble amp. And I have the factory slot number 1. Let's put the slot 58. And now let's double click on them to turn them on. Cool. Okay. What to do now? Well, as recommended by many users in the forum, the Fractal forum, and what many audio engineers and producers do is do a low cut and a high cut on the guitar cabinet. So you hit the cap block. And you're gonna see here, you have various knobs in the switch and stuff. You don't touch the delay, and you go straight to the low cut and type 80 Hertz. That's gonna do a cut of everything that's below 80 Hertz. So the sound is not that muddy and it's a bit clearer. Now, the high cut it's letting pass 20,000 Hertz of frequency. Okay, we don't need that for guitar. So a good starting point is 8750, 8750 Hertz, and the filter loop, sorry for my pronunciation. Let's do a 12 dB. Okay. Now, we're not going to touch right now, the proximity effect, because this is something you deal with later. So now, let's hear how it sounds. Unfortunately, we don't have an A-B toggle just to hear what has been done to the sound and how it sounds later. But there is a trick that you can do. You go to the XY squares here, right click on the X and just click on copy X to Y. You let it a moment and it's gonna copy do a clone to J, to the J state of the block. XY states are something that is present on almost all blocks, but not all blocks, that lets you have like an A-B setting. Okay, you have an X, you have something set up, and then you click Y, and you can change absolutely everything and have a complete separate state of that block. Since I copy X to Y, I have an exact clone of what's happening on X. And I just come here to the low cut and high cut and put them back as they were. So nothing is being cut. So now you can A/B how the cap sounded before you low cut in 80 and the high cut in 8750. Let's hear it. This is how it started. And here's X. I hope you can hear the difference. Anyhow, let's continue. So now what's expected on the signal chain? Well, since you have the amp and a cab, let's put the reverb at the end. So let's right click on this blank block and find the reverb. Here it is. And now you have a reverb. Double click it to turn it on. Okay. Now let's put a delay. Right click on the adjacent blank block to the reverb and let's hit delay 1. Double click it. Okay. Now we may want a wah-wah, right? Why not? Let's hit a wah-wah and double click it. So we're going to control the wah-wah. In my board, I have the AX8 and I have 2 Fractal EB1 expression pedal connected. I have the silver one and the black one. The silver one is connected to the expression pedal number 1 plug on the back of the AX8, and the black is on plug number 2. So in order to activate those effects, those expression pedals to control my wah-wah, I go to control in the wah-wah settings, controls here, double click on the center of the wheel, and you are faced with this screen. So let's go to search and find external number 1. So here it is. The AX8 comes with 4 slots, but you are faced with many other. If you're connected to MIDI, you can span all of this. So here is number 1, and I'm gonna put my feet on the expression 1. Here is. Cool. So it works. For now, we're not gonna deal with many other things that are covered in other videos because it could make this video very long. So now, what else do you have in the normal board? Like, okay, you have a volume pedal. So let's go here, and you are You are given two volumes. I'm gonna hit volume number 1 and do the same. Go to the volume control parameter inside the block. Right click on the center of the wheel. Go to source and volume 2, external 2 plug. Let's select this. And now it's routed to my EB1 expression pedal that's plugged in the number 2 plug. So let's turn on the volume block and let's hear if this is working. Cool. So now what are we gonna do? Let's see. Okay. I wanted to comment before I go on. Let's go back to the reverb blog. And inside the custom parameters, you are faced with a box called quality. So quality sets a high resolution and a normal resolution. And you have echo density. Echo density is, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's the kind of detail on the tail of the reverb as it fades out, how it sounds. I think something like that. Well, these two parameters are very, very important when dealing and making a very packed preset that has a lot of effects, because you are faced with a limited DSP power inside the AX8 as it is on the AX8 Only difference is that the AX8 has even more powerful DSP processors, but you can also hit the DSP limit in the AX8. So for now, I'm gonna leave it at high and at the highest resolution in the echo density. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning of the preset. And before the amp, I want to set up a drive, 2 drives. Some people like to have 2 drives. Having 2 drives is like actually having 4 drives. Why? Because the drive block has also an X and Y option. This lets you set in X whatever overdrive you want, and in J whatever other overdrive you want. And you can toggle between these two, setting up in the foot switch the option. We're gonna do this later. So right now, let's just say that for whatever reason, you need 2 drive blocks. So I have set up drive 1, and now let's hit the next block and select drive number 2. Okay, at this point, you can see in the upper right corner of your AX8 window that we are hitting 84% of the DXP limit. When we hit 90, the reverb block is gonna disengage or enter the bypass mode. This is due to a custom algorithm inside the AX8 that handles the DSP power. So it will disengage the block that is consuming the most resources when you start introducing blocks that will make more DSP consumption. So, okay, now I want to have a chorus, a phaser, and a flanger before the amp block. I'm out of slots in the straight line here we have here. We could just drag the cab and drag the amp block to the end, and now I have 4 slots before the amp. So, okay, let's put a chorus. Oh, and look what happened. as soon as I engage or recall the chorus block, the reverb disengaged. You have this a warning sign that is telling you that it was, if you leave the mouse, the pointer there, disable this block due to excessive CPU usage. Okay, so what to do? Well, go to the reverb block and start by selecting the quality to normal. This brings back the reverb block on, and you have 84% of DSP consumption. Okay, let's continue adding blocks. Next to the chorus, I want to have a phaser. So let's go and find the phaser. Here it is. And now a flanger. So here it is, a flanger. So far, in this preset, I have reached 90% of the DSP power, and nothing has been turned on. But you don't want to be in 90%. So let's go back to the reverb block, and let's bring back down the echo density to 3. This gives you 85% of DSP power. So we have regained 5% of more power. Where else can you go and get back more DSP power? In the cap block. The cap block works with normal resolution and ultra res resolution. That is a patented state of impulse responses developed by Fractal to give you more of the fatness of a cab. Usually in a live situation, it's hardly that anyone will tell the difference if you are using a ultra res resolution or normal resolution IR. So we have chosen slot 58 in the factory impulse responses, and in the left side you are with effects type. You click here and you have 4 options: high resolution, normal resolution, stereo, ultra resolution, or stereo. So if we hit normal resolution, we get back an additional 5%. So we now have about 8 or 9 more DSP power to put more blocks in. So what else would I want to get in here? Well, you could use a gate. You can use 2 gates. The input has its own gate. You click in the input and you are faced with the gate. Normally, I use intelligent because it's more efficient and more intelligent in picking up your guitar picking. For now, if you put it off by turning the threshold knob all the way to the left, it turns off the gate and gives you 2 additional or 3 additional percentage of CPU power. Someone in the forum started to use or posted a suggestion of using a gate block between the amp and the cab, and it works pretty good. So let's do that and put in the middle between the amp and the cab block a gate block. So let's go here, gate expander. Cool. And setting up this parameters is up to you, and it's dependent on the amp you are using here and why not. I did in the block library that it's on the left side. You can by clicking the plus sign here, you can start making your own presets of that block. I made this one, and I don't remember for what amp, but this one is the almost the one that I recall every time, and as my starting point. And I go from here. Here are the parameters if you want to cut it. So what else do you want to have here? Okay, how about a volume pedal after the cabinet, so you can do swells that affect the delay and the reverb? But I don't have any slot left here. Of course not. But you have all these other slots here. So what you can do is, for example, I like to put the wah here and the volume here. Once you do this, you see that they disconnected from the main connection that I did from the start. So you just go back to the initial block, hit the circle here, and connect it to the first drive. So here you have it. It's all connected and sounding again. Only that I don't have my wah-wah and my volume in the chain as yet. But you hit the wah-wah and you hit it here, the connection point, and bring it here, as well as the volume, and bring it here. Now, I have now 3 blocks that have input. This will increase the input volume of the signal chain. So you could use it, why not? But it's not efficient, or I don't want to say correct, but it's because there's no correct way of setting up your chain, but it's not usual. So I'm going to disconnect the main block here from here, and it's disconnected. Now I have my guitar coming through the wah and through the volume. And you see here that the initial block, you have to select it and hit delete to delete the block, as you need to have it blank, because slots that have a connection do take DSP power. So now what you want to do is in the wah-wah and the effects in the volume, you want to set the bypass mode that is on the right, on the bottom of the right, the edit window, and put it to mute. And this one to mute. Because what? Okay, I have my volume. I had my volume pedal up. That's what. There's no sound. Okay. So now I have. But if I want to go to the wah-wah, my sound is only coming through the wah-wah because I put mute in the bypass mode of the volume pedal, as well as the wah-wah. So whenever you toggle between the two, one is going to be off, and you're going to only be faced with one signal of your guitar. Okay, now moving these 2 blocks has freed me 1 space. So let's put the drive here, the drive number 1 and drive number 2 to the left. Let's bring the chorus here, the flanger here, and the phaser and the flanger here. Some people like to have the chorus, the flanger, and the phaser all connected in the same signal chain, and just a few use them all at the same time. Engage. Well, to make it efficient, I'm just going to go and put the chorus up in the upper row, the phaser 2, and I'm gonna grab the flanger and put it here. So I'm faced with a disconnection. So I hit the drive, hit the connection, and connect it to this block. So I have. Now you want to introduce back the chorus, phaser, and flanger to the signal chain. So you grab this block and start connecting them here. Like this. Okay, so let's analyze the signal. This block is connected to the chorus, and the chorus is now connected back to the main chain, to the main signal. But it is also connected to the phaser. Okay. Now the phaser is not connected to the main signal, so it's only receiving the affected signal from the chorus. If you hit the chorus with a bypass, the signal comes through, enters the dry signal enters the phaser and goes back to the. But what I like to do is to connect the main signal to the phaser, like this. And now everything is connected. So I'm gonna bypass everything. Let's turn on the chorus. Oh, but it's not sounding that pronounced. Okay, so what do you have to do? In the parameters of the chorus, you come here and hit the mix to 100%. So now you have a full sound of the chorus mixed with the dry signal of your main signal chain. So let's do the same with the phaser, mix to 100%, and the flanger mix to 100%. Now, whenever you engage those effects, they're going to be 100%. Now we have more additional free slots. Since I don't want to have anything else before the amp, I'm going to bring the amp to the last block of this chain. Let's bring the gate block and the cap block. I wanted to make room for another volume pedal. So here we have, and why not an EQ block? So you can tailor the sound of your Okay, that sounds good. So all of a sudden, let's just for fun turn everything on. So what we have now, it's a very packed preset that is almost reaching 90% of the DSP power. So since hardly, well, I don't want to see hardly, but come on, you have an XY state on one of the drive blocks, so you have the option of having 2 drives. There's no need for this a second drive, in my opinion. So if you right click and put a shunt is just, a bypass road of the signal. So it's a blank block that the signal is passing through it. This brings back down the CPU to 76%. This is amazing because you now have space for what else could you have? Would you want to have a delay before the amp? You could do it. Here it is. So it's good. What else could you want to do? Okay, why not a parameter EQ before the amp that is, let's see, in this block. Parameter EQ, and you could have it. So we are at 88%. Well, maybe you don't need the gate between the amp and the cab. So let's put a shunt here, and you gain an extra percentage there. And you could also use another parameter EQ between the amp and the cab. There you go. What else can we have? Well, you could have a looper block that is gonna be capturing the signal straight from the output of the cabinet block. Okay, and it's gonna be going into the delay and reverb and skipping the volume and the EQ that are after the cab block in your main signal chain. So to do that, let's hit the looper block, hit the connection end here and here. But what else can we do? Okay, how about processing the sound that is captured from the looper? Okay, so what to do? Okay, you come here and right click on this block that you have free here and put another graphic EQ. Oh, good. So now I have now a more complicated but interesting signal chain. This is basically how you could set up a preset. I hope this tutorial has made it somehow clearer of how to approach a preset, how to set up blocks, and how to organize them. Remember that you have all these other things, other spaces where you could move blocks and connect them in various ways. So there is a lot of room for doing creative stuff before reaching the DSP limit. Many people didn't know just how big a signal chain can be inside the AX8, and it's a very, very powerful unit, especially since it has the best effects resolution of any other board out right now. So expect more tutorials on setting up wahs and volumes with the expression pedals and other details. So I hope you like this. See you around.